Hey guys, welcome back to another vlog. And in today's vlog, we are going to be taking you, or I'm going to be taking you, to Bude Gym. It's called Bude Gym, and Bude is a lovely little place down south in Cornwall, and it's right by the seaside, and it's where Charlotte, my girlfriend, grew up, and it's where we were this weekend for Easter. So we went down for like 4 days, a long weekend. Enjoyed Easter down there. I had some fish and chips. I had some Cornish pasty. Had some Cornish pasty. I had a Cornish pasty. I had fish and chips, and I enjoyed some of Charlotte's dad's cooking. In fact, a roast, which was great. Just being able to relax down there. Took some days off work, which was fantastic. Ada, who is on my lap, but you can't see because she's like lying down, had a good run around out there and enjoyed. Just being able to be out more and walking more. It was a good break for me. So I was in Bude Gym because thankfully they have a fantastic gym over in Bude. It's just like a little, I say fantastic, it's like a little warehouse gym. You wouldn't expect such a place to have such a gym though. And it has a lot of equipment which you're going to see, like hack squat, it has Smith machine, it has like leg extension, leg curl, all this stuff. So I'm going to just kind of overlay at some point, maybe now. So guys, here is Bude Gym. Those who have been following the channel for a long time would have seen this gym before, but it's actually been kind of redone. So I thought I'd just give you a bit of a tour. So this is in my girlfriend Charlotte's little town of Bude, and this is a pretty legit warehouse gym. So it has like code entry, you get a week pass, and it's really handy. So they've got this like pet deck, reverse pet deck machine. I think we've even got neck training for Jeff Nippard. They've got a cable kind of pulley here. They've got the hoist dip machine. They've got some cardio bits. They've got this incline chest press, which I'm currently using, which is actually pretty damn solid. They've got this leg press here, which is actually very similar to a leg press I have at Yorkie's. Lying leg curl, which I used yesterday, which was absolutely fantastic. Gym warehouse, whatever that is, felt fantastic. Leg extension, it's not very good. They've got this hack squat, Davis hack squat. I used that yesterday. It's pretty solid. Got a preacher machine curl, got a back extension, decline, got a rack, a Smith machine. Very solid setup. It's got cable, wide cables. Got this Star Track chest press machine, not very good. It needs to converge. It feels really odd that it doesn't converge. Cyvex lat pull down, which is solid, and then a bunch of dumbbells and row back, plate loaded row back machine and loads of bars and things. So really, really solid setup, to be honest, whilst I'm here in Bude. I've got no excuse not to get it done. A bunch of form videos, or rather my sessions. So I've already spoken about various videos beforehand in terms of how do you go about kind of accommodating to a new gym where maybe you have different equipment. And essentially I'm going to just give you the long and short. I pick like for like movements. So I've got hack squat at my gym, hack squat there, or rather actually I was meant to be pendulum squatting and I didn't have one of those, so I did the hack squat and I just matched the kind of RAR, rep range, and also number of sets. I may, some nuance to that, auto-regulate a little bit here or there depending on the stimulus I'm getting. So for example, the session I just did today, which is Friday, which is upper body full session, which is the first session I did there, I did an overhead press Smith. I normally do the prime Smith machine and then prime overhead press. So I did a Smith overhead press, and then I went into this machine press and it basically sucked. The stimulus was not great versus the Smith press, the eagle press that I normally do. The machine press that I do over in Yorkie's is fantastic. So in such a situation, I added in a fly movement just to increase my stimulus without a load of extra fatigue. So there's some like little nuance to it, but for the most part, it's kind of like exercises, match reps, match sets, but you might auto-regulate in some instances sets and also maybe even exercises or what have you to get that kind of SFR for the session that you're looking for. So the main thing I wanted to talk about within this vlog was kind of gauging RAR in that first week, because I have it very often. Clients will be unsure about how to approach the week one, whether or not this is a new mesocycle or a second mesocycle within a macrocycle of say massing. But it gets a bit easier if you've got the second mesocycle there. But say this is your first week within a mesocycle and you're trying to attempt like a 3 to 4 RER. So you know you're challenging yourself, you're working hard, but you've got more reps left in the tank. Where do you start? So the first place I would look is like your logbook. If you're doing exercises that you've performed before and you've performed them to failure before, or naught reps in reserve or close, then you can kind of backtrack. So you can either like remove 4 reps, for example, from that, or you can remove some load. I tend to find 2 to 2.5% load change is equivocal to about 1 repetition. It doesn't work perfectly, but it works pretty well. So you could reduce 10% match reps, or you could reduce 4 reps, say. That'll get you ballpark 3-4 RER. So you might do 5% and 2 reps, for example, but maybe you don't even have that data available. But if you do, then you've got like that as a great setup. So you might, even if you're in mesocycle 2 and you're using the same movements for mesocycle 1, you could use that in combination with looking at your past meso. What did you do week 1? You want to kind of look to progress upon that. So you don't look to beat your week, kind of whatever it is, the week before deloading performance. You don't look to beat that in week 1 because that's just unrealistic, because now your RER is greater. So you look to beat your equivocal week. So this week 1, you look to beat your previous mesocycles week 1. This week 2, you look to beat your last mesocycles week 2, so on and so forth. It's unlikely that you're going to beat it by a lot, so it might be that your week 1 performance in this meso is what your week 2 performance was in the previous meso. So you basically have improved by a rep or a small amount of load, which is essentially what we're looking to do every week and then every meso. So each week we're looking to add a little bit of load or an extra rep. So your RER drops by about 1. And then every mesocycle, you might look to beat the last mesocycle's week 1 by a small amount of load or an extra rep, or both, or maybe even more than that, or maybe even less than that, depending on if you're dieting, massing, or your level of advancement. So say you have that logbook data, you've got a great starting point already. But what if it's a new movement, or like I was, in a different gym? How do you gauge that 3 to 4 reps in reserve? And so for me, it's a little bit varied, because reps in reserve is actually like, RER is an objective, you have this many reps left, but it's quite subjective in terms of how you feel, and it's quite nuanced in terms of how it looks and feels for different exercises. So an example would be like a leg extension, and I'm sure many of you would agree. You can kind of keep pushing and burning out reps within a leg extension. When that burn kicks in, that's not 3 to 4 reps in reserve, you probably have like another 10 reps left or something. Maybe not quite 10, but certainly a good number of reps, more than 4. So you can kind of have quite a few like grindy reps before you're like in the territory of 3 to 4 RER. Whereas something like a row, as soon as a row or a pull starts slowing down, you're pretty certain you're right around 3 to 4 RER, because you can't grind out many reps on a row machine. But it depends on the row as well, because on a machine row, actually, I take that back, with a chest support, you can kind of grind reps out a little bit, because you have that chest support, especially if it's like a strive row machine or a prime, where you can make it heavier in the lengthened and easier in the shortened, where you're weaker, so it matches the resistance profile a bit better to your strength profile, and so you can kind of grind reps out. But like a bent over row, you're not grinding reps out. You're just not. You might have some slow reps, but you can't get really grindy reps on such a movement. Same with like an RDL, many pulling movements, you're just not going to get those real grindy reps. On a pull-up, so you're not going to get like a real grindy repetition on a pull-up. Unlikely. Like a true grindy rep, whereas on like a pull down you might do. Kind of depends on the person and the machine and all these various factors, and maybe how you also perform the movement. So I actually like performing quite a few of my pulls with the concentric being quite powerful and forceful and moving fast, and with a fair bit of intent. Almost looks like momentum, and you might use some momentum and drive on some lifts to make it kind of have a better SFR for you, but this is more of an advanced thing that you would start incorporating once you really get a good gauge of feeling out movements, my muscle connection, your stimulus to fatigue ratio. So when I say SFR, I'm talking about stimulus versus fatigue. So anyway, I kind of rambled a bit there, but you might look at 3 to 4 RER, and it's often talked about, if you've kind of been hearing me talk about it enough within programming and other individuals, is like that 3 to 4 RER point is where the reps start to slow down. And I would say, like, you want to see like I would say significant, but it doesn't mean it needs to be grindy, but you want to be able to see that it's slowed down. If you can't see that it's slowed down, depending on the movement, you might be leaving too many reps in reserve, essentially. If the first rep looks exactly like the last rep, now it should in terms of like range of motion, control, this sort of thing, but if the concentric looks exactly the same, you haven't slowed down therefore, I would say you still have a way to go. You also want to get basically to that zone of reps, like a rep or two, where it's like objectively hard and challenging. You had to really concentrate. You had to kind of really be on ball. You couldn't just go through the motions. You can't get to like the relative intensities close enough to be overloading for hypertrophy unless you're concentrating for a set. This is where that kind of mindset of, 3 to 4 RER is easy. It's not. You have to concentrate to get there because it's a challenge and an overload for your body. It's a stressor that's going to promote hypertrophy. There's a vast amount of literature now to kind of support that notion. So I think like it makes complete sense that you have to be concentrating. You have to really have intent and focus to be able to get to a point of which it's overloading enough to cause that response that we want to see. So I think people who say it's easy, they're going to automatically go too easy because they're just going to go through the motions and just kind of essentially do kind of like an underloading deload style workout. So there's some kind of ideas for you to take on board. If you've got logbook data, then you can subtract load or repetitions to get you in a ballpark range. I would also then auto-regulate. You can also not just look at like your kind of naught RER performances, you can also look at the past mesocycles, week 1, 2, 3, and kind of maybe you look to match week 2 performance in week 1, if that's appropriate, but your kind of naught RERs are very objective in terms of that's your max performance, so you can kind of be objective about reducing and subtracting 4 reps or like 10% or 5% and 2 reps. And then in terms of if it's new, then it's a case of, okay, first of all, if it's new, it's novel. So for me, I was in a different gym. I didn't look to like overdo it. If anything, I was like trying to side with caution. It's challenging for me to do so because I tend to prefer to push than not. But because when it is a novel movement, you might find that it's better off not pushing as hard just because novelty can create muscle damage and can impact recovery and that sort of thing anyway. So you probably want to undershoot versus overshoot. But you basically want to get to that point where you had to really concentrate for that rep. It probably slowed down quite a bit. You know it was hard and challenging, but you have more in the tank. That's a great place to be. So that's a good way of thinking about where to start your meso. You want to start hard, overloading. You want to meet the minimum threshold, which you certainly will be with 3 to 4 RER training if you're certainly getting there, so that we have room then to make each week harder because we're no longer newbies or early intermediates who can improve on a week-to-week basis. It's not like we can fail week 1, fail week 2, fail week 3, and see improvements in performance. No, we'll probably just match performance, or it might decline because we're so fatigued, depending on how much volume we're doing. So you want to be able to leave your room to overload today and then progress that overload in the next week. You know what I say? You know what I mean, rather. You know what I say? So hopefully this discussion has been interesting, elucidating, and hopefully watching me perform in Bude Gym has been interesting, and doing the various movements. I think you guys take something away from seeing me perform movements, and you're seeing me go on all of these to what I am determining around a 3 to 4 RER. It doesn't need to be perfect. I just know I've gone hard and I've got more reps, or I've got more in the tank. So in the future weeks, I can push harder. If you have any questions, please post them below. If you want to see anything in particular within these vlogs, always let me know. I do these for you, really. Obviously, it helps like Revive Stronger Grow, and I think you get some good insights. I certainly know my clients enjoy watching these, but I want to be able to produce content that you want to see, and so do let me know if there's anything in particular you want to see. Otherwise, next time you see me in here, if you've noticed, I have some picture frames up on the wall, and next time they should be filled with some cool things, although it's kind of blurry in the background there because of my camera settings, but still, once that's in here, the office is well and truly like complete pretty much. So anyway, guys, I hope you're all well. I hope you all had a fantastic Easter, whatever you got up to. I actually have not eaten any Easter eggs. I got an Easter egg. Charlotte's parents were kind enough to give me a Malteser Easter egg, which I will enjoy at some point, but I'm that guy who's annoying, who I won't eat a whole Easter egg in one go. It probably doesn't surprise many of you. I will weigh out portions, like 50 grams at a time or something, and I'll get through it at my own pace, you know? I'm not that person who will just like go and eat all the Easter eggs that I've been given on one day. Just it doesn't appeal to me, and isn't my kind of philosophy or way of eating generally anyway. So that Easter egg will probably last me like a good old few months because I have other stuff I also want to eat. Anyway, guys, if you did get an Easter egg, let me know which one you got. I got Malteser bars, so I got the Malteser bars as well. I got 2 of those, which are delicious actually. And actually, just something else I picked up recently because I was in Iceland. So that's like a frozen only store, they had Twix ice cream bars, and they're like 150 calories or something. Great little pickup. And the Snickers ones are great. The Mars ones are great as well. They're all under 200 calories, which I know I'm on like almost 4,000 calories, but I'm still trying to prioritize wholesome, minimally processed, nutrient-dense foods for the most part, and obviously keep my fats under control. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go for a ramble if I keep going. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and I'll catch you in the next one. And so will Ada, who was snoring away for part of that, if you didn't hear her. Cheers, guys. Take care.